The time has come for us to remove Section 377A. It humiliates and hurts gay people. Most gay people do not cause harm to others. They just want to live peacefully and quietly and be accepted as part of society, the same as any other Singaporean. They are our family, our friends, our colleagues. They deserve dignity, respect, acceptance. They do not deserve to be stigmatized because of their sexual orientation. To a gay person, even if Section 377A is not enforced, it is there, memorialized in law, a sword hanging over his head, a daily reminder that every time he engages in private sexual activity behind closed doors in the sanctity of his bedrooms, he is nevertheless a criminal. We have to ask, is it fair that gays have to live in this way? This is not something we should accept, even if we personally disagree with homosexuality. So I will say, let us start to deal with these divides, heal these divides, remove their pain. There are two main reasons. First, it is the right thing to do, and society is more ready now for the repeal. Second, there is a significant legal risk that the courts will strike down Section 377A if we left it alone and did nothing. You know what the consequential legal risks are. In fact, this has been talked about in public. What the consequential legal risks are to the heterosexual family, housing, education, other policies, that they could all be at risk. Knowing all these risks and refusing to take a position or be clear in how we will deal with it is avoiding our responsibilities as MPs. Basically passing it on to the courts. It is easier politically, but it is also worse for Singapore and Singaporeans. And to put it bluntly, that will be an abdication of duty. And it would be cynical if we as MPs did that, because we would be putting, if we take this as a deliberate decision, political capital over doing what is good for Singaporeans.
In my 2019 speech, I said that the LGBTQ+ community should not be exploited for political points. At that time, I believed there was more to consider than deciding which was the right side in this matter. I still believe that had the Workers' Party openly supported a repeal of 377A, it would not have been good for Singapore politics. More crucially, it would have not served the interests of the LGBTQ+ community. On issues of great social division and contending values, we do not need politicians to be seen as siding with particular groups. With the impending repeal of 377A, Singaporeans on all sides must come together in good faith and mutual trust to not let this issue further tear our social fabric. I am certain the decision of this House is not a panacea that repairs the tension between camps. We should anticipate that new battle lines will be drawn. For the LGBTQ+ community, the march towards greater equality has not ended. Some conservatives are likely to mobilize to try and stop any further expansion of LGBTQ+ rights. Any conversation must recognize that there is a distinction between public and private perspectives. Just because one group has a position on an issue does not mean it can impose that position as a public expectation on everyone else. Why? Because in Singapore, there must be a place for everyone. The public space is for all to share, and where we encourage a live and let live, give and take attitude towards our fellow Singaporeans. The fact that we are a secular society does not stop religious Singaporeans from holding views that are reflective of their religious norms and values. It is fully understandable that the faithful wish to propagate their religious convictions. There is no basis for us to feel cancelled, provided our views are not set as an expectation for all society. Let us be thoughtful and put ourselves in the other person's shoes as we welcome conversation and even vigorous debate. But as with most difficult conversations in search of a landing point, it will be crucial to adopt a gentler tone, an enlightened perspective that extends and considers the impact on broader community and society, and most fundamentally, a spirit of empathy.
There have been questions on why the government is intervening now. Why repeal? Why even amend the Constitution? We acknowledge that there are indeed other issues of conscience to Singaporeans, such as cost of living. To use that as a reason for inaction might be politically expedient, but would not be the right or responsible thing to do. We have assessed that there is a significant risk to our laws being struck down. We cannot just ignore the legal risk. This amendment is necessary and is the right thing to deal with it now and not delay. The role of the courts is to interpret and apply the law. It's not their constitutional function to settle political questions or rule on social norms and values. Litigation is a zero-sum, adversarial process with win-lose outcomes. It's unlike a political process where the interests of stakeholders can be considered. Accommodation can be sought to reach consensus. The courts also recognize that controversial social issues are best dealt with within the sphere of Parliament. Some express the wish to go further than what we are proposing, protecting the definition of marriage in our current laws. They want the definition of marriage to be enshrined in the Constitution. We understand that these calls come from a sincere belief in the sanctity of marriage and reflect a genuine worry that the institution of marriage might be changed in the future to include same-sex marriage. Our view is that elevating marriage to the same level as fundamental rights in the Constitution would not be appropriate. The institution of marriage and family is the bedrock of society, but to elevate it to the same level as fundamental rights would fundamentally change the whole complexion and schema of the Constitution.